All right, guys, we're back on Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Jay Greeson joins for our Week 7 preview here in SEC football. And, of course, you guys have checked out all the prediction videos this week, one of the biggest weeks of the season. Given all these huge games, we're going to talk about it with you here live. Before we do, let's quickly tell you about our friends over at GameTime SIDEKICKS, the best cups out there. Jay is going to hold up a nice little cup there on the screen, and many more available. We've had people sending us pictures of their cups, cool stuff, and keep sending those in because it is such a fine product we keep telling you about. Officially licensed stainless steel drinkware over there. Every SEC school, over 350 more universities as well. They got the stainless steel sippy cups, the tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, shaker cups. If you want that discount, 20% off. SC16, 20% off over at GameTimeSidekicks.com. And if you're in on the action this week and all these games we're going to talk about, not only, as we said, can you check out our friends over at FanDuel, but you can check out the HOF app. Smart bettors rely on the data, and HOF, as you know, hands you the powerful analytics to tilt the odds in your favor. They've got the historical data, matchup grades, trends, player performance insights. HOF created by the Ivy League sports geeks to help everyday bettors bet smarter. And so you guys can do that. And remember, you get a nice little 7-day free trial. But not just that, you also get 50% off your first month when you use the code SC16 at checkout. Download their app, HOF app on iOS or Android. Enter the code SC16 and you are all set. Jay, are you all set?
I'm completely set. I'm geeked. I'm speaking to a UTC sports media class this afternoon. I'm getting my game day on. I'm getting my mojo working. And I couldn't help but think, as you were reading the ad read for the Hall of Fame app and the sports geeks, how much did T and Southeastern have to 16 have to pony up to keep our own resident sports stat geek, Chris Lee, in the fold?
I mean, listen, if Chris created an app at some point with all the data, I wouldn't be surprised if he's working on it right now as we speak. Now, Chris is technically on vacation for fall break, or
Yes.
fall break, whatever it is, for these next, I think, through today. So, but we'll see. He may be actually working on an app. We'll find out. But yes, it is plenty of stuff. You talk about action this week. My goodness. There's plenty of it as we talk about all these big games and, talk about, too, I'm sure we'll mention some of the swings and a few of the numbers on some of these games. But let's start with Alabama, Missouri, because, I think based on just a high level of interest in this game, Alabama's coming off the two big games against Georgia and Vanderbilt. Meanwhile, Missouri's had UMass and a nice week off to prepare. A little bit of a difference in those two kind of heading into this one. Jay, what about your sort of later week thoughts now as you've had a couple more days to sort of digest this matchup?
I got so many on this game. Who in a million years had the winner of this game is your now SEC frontrunner for Player of the Year, Ahmad Hardy or Ty Simpson?
Yeah.
Who in this game was prepared for the stat that Kalen DeBoer is 17-3 against ranked foes? Who was prepared for, look, man, big picture across this league, if I can go on a little soliloquy for a second, the definition of NIL and the changing landscape of college sports is going to shrink the divide between the Goliaths and the Davids, because there are way too many Davids across the Power Four, but now you can't stockpile all those 5 stars. Can you envision a time, even 3 or 5 years ago, that a top 10 Alabama would go to Missouri? And I know they're undefeated. I know Missouri's good, but this would be a field goal line.
Yeah.
5 years ago, this would have been a 13-point spread for Alabama. Same thing in Jordan-Hare Saturday night. Auburn coming off, the divide is greatly shrinking to a point that the coaches are spinning the narrative about how difficult it's going to impact their jobs. And this time it's not excuse making. This time it actually is true that a lot of fan bases are going to have to realize 10-2 is a great bleeping year.
No doubt. And speaking of that, I think I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what the number was earlier in the week, but Missouri. I feel like we talked about this for a couple weeks now in terms of their number over at FanDuel. It's plus 172 right now to make the college football playoff. Obviously, this is the kind of game that could swing that number depending on how it goes. And yeah, like no surprise to see Alabama's number still set at minus 260. I think that was about where it was when we talked last weekend, after the win against Vanderbilt. But I'll tell you a stat that I love. And we've talked about Ahmad Hardy and just how tremendous he's been this season. I think the Action Network put out the stat from PFF actually about 46 missed tackles in 104 rushing attempts this season. 46 missed tackles, 104 rushing attempts, the highest graded back in elusiveness in the country. And now you're playing an Alabama team. And here's another stat that I found as well. And, I think it's Alabama's 78th in defensive stuff rate. Jay, I know you're a wizard when it comes to the defensive stuff rate. But they've actually been really good the past 2 weeks in terms of tackling. Alabama's been much better in terms of being able to, I think they only had 13 missed tackles combined against Vanderbilt and Georgia. So it's like something's got to give here. You've got the most elusive back in the country. I think in what seems like, for most people would be a terrifying matchup against Alabama, although the numbers say that it's not. And I don't know what's going to happen here, but man, that's a fun matchup, at least on paper.
It's a tremendous matchup on paper. It's also in all of the machinations of the summertime talk, who had Ty Simpson and Bo Prabula being guys that nobody in their program wants to trade for anybody not named John Mateer. Because those two dudes are answering the bell. And look, I understand why Vegas and our friends at FanDuel are wary of this line and of this game. That's a tough spot. I do think you mentioned a great stat about Ahmad Hardy and his elusiveness. I loved his early season dominance was so complete that they didn't play last week, and he still leads the nation in rushing.
Yeah.
So I will say this, though, and I'm curious about some of our Mizzou fans in there. When you've got the huge upset opportunity at home, that 11-ish kickoff can sometimes be a downer. Does that make sense? Because, I'm not saying Mizzou's going to come in flat, because this is the biggest game for the program in a hot minute. But it just sometimes just feels like both teams sleepwalk a little bit, and the longer the home team doesn't get the crowd involved, and I'm certain the crowd will be involved from the beginning, but those early kickoffs are almost always advantageous for the visitors.
Yeah. And look, I think it shows you, and we were talking about this even before last week, but it's like, and I don't know, you tell people, I think some of this can be overblown. I'm not going to go too far with it, but the fact that it's like normally in many years, if Alabama was playing Vanderbilt before this road trip to Missouri, it's like, well, okay, Alabama goes in, wins by 3 touchdowns, and it's kind of just pull the starters in the fourth quarter and you're on your way, right? But, I don't think it's that out of the realm of possibility to say the Georgia game on the road and the Vanderbilt game at home somewhat equal in terms of like emotion for Alabama, which is wild to say. And so it's like you're coming off 2 of the games like that, and now you have to turn around and what you just said, the early kick in Columbia, and whether, again, Missouri fans would probably love it to be at night and all that, but still, it's kind of like a spot game, and I feel like that's everybody this week that you see out there talking about this game. It's all about the spot for Alabama. Is that overblown, or is that just simply reality and kind of the situation of
No, I don't think it's overblown at all. But before I comment on the overblownness, and I probably made that word up, Sam, but the conversation about the magnitude, I think you made it a very great point. Not only the emotional about the rebound spot against Vandy, or not the rebound, but the revenge spot, even in national perception, even as great a start as Vandy has had, you go to Athens and lose a close one, you've got a playoff mulligan, even with the loss at Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. You lose at home to Vandy, and that could be a mark that could be held against you depending on how the rest of the country does. Because, look, man, this isn't about getting to Atlanta anymore. This is about the beauty pageant to get into the playoff. So, I mean, the perception has to matter because we don't know the details of how the playoff committee works. But to your spot about the schedule and the no possible way could it be overblown, because in where we are, my theory is this. There are 4 guys that dictate whether you're going to have a great college football season in the SEC. Your head coach is 1. Your quarterback is 2. Your strength and conditioning coach is 3. And the Birmingham schedule maker is 4. Because the rest of it, as imbalanced as this is, think about the last 3+ weeks Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss are going to get.
Yeah.
Off last week. A cakewalk this week. Then they've got maybe their biggest test outside of the emotion that is the Egg Bowl, going to Athens after Georgia has played Alabama, Kentucky, and Auburn in succession.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, I think, the setup here. And so I'm with you. I don't think it's overblown. I think it's certainly a scenario that's going to factor into this game. But you also said something earlier where I'm like, man, Ty Simpson, if you're going to go into a game like this in this spot, like it is interesting to think that all the talk we had this offseason about, like, what's he going to be? Like, what can we realistically expect from him? And it's like, I'm not sure you'd want to have anybody else, like you said, maybe other than maybe Big John Mateer right now, walking into the spot and feeling really confident about his ability to lead them, you know?
I know technically in the formation of this company, you are my boss, but I think I need to make a rule that for the rest of time, we need to say Big John Mateer. I think Big John Mateer needs to be his given first name.
Absolutely.
His middle name is now John in terms of Southeastern 16, in my view.
Big John. If we could put him on merch, we would, but we are not NIL partners with Big John Mateer right now. And so yes, we would do that if we could, because I feel like I've been using Big John Mateer all summer. All right. By the way, guys, we just set a super chat goal for this stream, as we've been doing lately. 5 super chats, and we'll give you something exciting at the end of this show. I can't guarantee you that will be anything that you think is that exciting, but we think it's exciting. So 5 super chats, throw them in there, get your questions, comments. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff here heading into this one. So, Sam, hold on a second. Management. Sam, you're actually the person in charge here. We all know that. So, yeah, there you have it. So, all right, let's see what else we're going to get into here. But speaking of Big John Mateer, let's just transition to that, Jay. I mean, this number now for Texas and Oklahoma is Texas minus 1.5. Surprised a lot of people when it came out. It was 3.5 in Texas's favor. Seems like, based on the reports, John Mateer, Big John Mateer, already broken my first rule, pushing to play in this game. So how does that impact the way we look at this one going in?
It doesn't change. If Michael Hawkins starts, I'm still on Oklahoma. I'm going to do one of those social media betting things, and sadly, last week was less than good. But I think Oklahoma's defense is better. I know Oklahoma's offensive line is better. I don't. It could be Big John Mateer. It could be freshman Troy Aikman. It could be Jamel Holloway. It could be Baker Mayfield. It could be Michael Hawkins. And I think Oklahoma's got a better football team ready to line up and play in a 50-50 game. And I'm curious for our group and for you, a lot of us old school SEC fans, because my first college football game was watching Herschel Walker go over the top in a great showdown with George Rogers when Herschel was a freshman in 1980. So I've grown up with the SEC and loving the SEC. But what this has got to be on the short list, not only the best rivalries in this league, but in the country. I mean, we all know which one I'm going to say, and nobody's going to change anybody's mind. But this rivalry is tremendous.
Yeah. Well, and I think this game here in particular, and Kenneth brought it up, is like, is everyone just going to dismiss, QB threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for another last Saturday? If Hawkins starts, Oklahoma's still going to win 24-14. Arch won't escape the Oklahoma defensive line easily. And I think that's the thing, right? All the talk's going to be about Mateer, and rightfully so, like whether he plays or doesn't play. I mean, again, we were talking about a Heisman-type guy. But if you look at the defensive stats here, and I'll give you another from the Action Network, they just put out a lot of great stats, and I enjoy, again, picking and choosing certain things that I think really stand out in some of the previews they do. But it's like, when you look at Oklahoma's defense, they rank top 6 in the country in success rate allowed, quality drives allowed, finishing drives allowed, and my favorite stat of all, Jay, havoc. We're all about havoc here at Southeastern 16. And you're telling me that a defense that loves to create havoc and basically doesn't allow many quality drives whatsoever goes up against an opponent that I don't have the numbers in front of me on Texas's quality drives offensively this season, but I'm willing to bet they're not in the top 6 or maybe even the top 50. I could be wrong on that. But it's just like, I think that's this game. Like, that's where this game is won. And the over-under, let me look. I'm trying to remember. You probably have it off the top of your head. 43.5. So you're obviously expecting a defensive-type game here because you're not going to knock Texas's defense. They're certainly capable, even though last week did not go well. So I just think Oklahoma's defense is the difference here.
To the post you put across the screen, I will give a little blowback in terms of dismissing a quarterback who threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for a 4th. He did it against Kent State. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to throw for 2 against Kent State, and I just turned 55. This is a unbelievably it's impossible to deny the bigger emotion test, the bigger physical test, all of the everything ratchets up for Michael Hawkins. But he also has potentially as many starts as Arch Manning over the last couple of years. So, and look, man, while we're here, among my many theories in sports is the way the narrative can change about when, and sadly, we're part of this, when the media either undervalues a team and then they surprise all expectation. We probably didn't do our homework well enough, so we instantly vote that guy coach of the year. Well, we may not have known how good that team was, whether that guy did a good job or not. The pendulum frequently swings, and I know you love basketball. I first formed this theory around Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace was with the Pistons, and he was an unbelievable glue guy who was a tremendous defender and a relentless rebounder. But then when he went to free agency and he signed a max deal, everybody looked up and went, God, this guy couldn't shoot heroin in a New Orleans whorehouse. So he went from underrated to overrated in a heartbeat. Eli Manning's done the exact same opposite corollary. Everybody overblown. He was overblown.
Using a lot of you're making up a lot of words with the word blown today. So we may need to just keep working on this. Well, let's not get carried away here. But
but now everybody's acting like he is this tremendous abject failure. He still has 16 touchdowns accounted for in 5 games. He still moves pretty good.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments reacting to your analogy. Oh, boy. This is why we love you guys. So, yes. Anyways, I don't even know where to transition from that. But yes, you're right. Like I think it's just again the expectations, right? And what are the expectations going into the season for Arch Manning if his last name's not Manning? And I mean that's part of it. And I'm not saying that he still wouldn't have had high expectations, but I think it's just you clearly looked at the profile, you understood kind of the role he was going to be thrust into on what was expected to be, a national championship team, which they could still get there potentially. And it's just like, so I think that's it. And their third down numbers too. That's what kind of I find glaring. Third down percentage, 34.3%. I think it's like 100 and something nationally. So yeah, I think to me it's Oklahoma's defense here when we talk about the biggest storylines in this game outside of whether Mateer plays or not. But you guys weigh in the comments. Give us a nice score right now. If you guys are out there watching, what's your score? Give us a prediction for Texas, Oklahoma. That's one that I think curious to see the divide on what you guys think about how this one could play out. All right, before we get into some other stuff, let me just quickly tell you about a couple other of our fine friends here at the channel. Yearly Company. We keep telling you the Nashville-based fine jewelry that makes Max Barr want to go out and get a wife. That's how you know that what they're selling is the real deal. Each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold, made to measure for a perfect fit and backed by a lifetime guarantee. So whether it's anniversaries, birthdays, new beginnings, everyday moments, they got those Yearly Company bangles, custom sized. And so knowing the size is most important. If you're a husband out there trying to get a jump on the holiday season, you got to know the size to make that shopping effortless. So SE16 Kit. SE16 Kit gets you 100% off. It's free, folks, over at the Yearly Company. Use that code SE16 Kit for a free sizing kit over there with our friends at the Yearly Company. Also, ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com. Keep telling you about them as well. World's strongest magnetic phone case. Some of you may need that for this weekend's games, depending on how it goes for your team. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting. The new iPhone has come out, of course, and get your new cases, accessories over there. 25% off over at ROKFORM.com. SEC25 is the code. SEC25. ROKFORM.com, and HOVI Dry Goods, your new favorite hat. The HOVI hats, high quality headwear, great fit, unique designs. You can get 15% off there with our friends at HOVI Dry Goods. Bad beat for 15% off. All right, what else we got? We got some scores coming in here. Dark matter. Oklahoma 6, Texas 3. Now, Sam, if you'd have went 3-2, I'd have been okay with this. But 2-1 is not possible. So therefore, we cannot accept this score. Darren's going Oklahoma 38-13. Oklahoma puts up 38 against Texas. Sark's not making it back to the plane. So, holy cow. 31-21 here on this one. So, yeah. Okay. All right. That works. Where do you want to go next, Jay?
I want to go to Knoxville.
All right. Well, we'll see you later.
No, come on now. No, I want the offensive showcase, Hogs and Neyland.
All right. Let's see. The current over-under, 68.5 for this game on this one. Tennessee, 12.5-point favorite over at FanDuel. 68.5. Yeah. I think there'll be some points scored here.
And I don't think there's a bad offensive bet in this game. Tennessee's team total is 41.5. They have been a machine. I am actually already on my FanDuel account. First half over 34.5 for this reason. Nobody scripts the first quarter better than how Josh Heupel does it. For God's sakes, he got out to 21-0 over Georgia at home in the same building.
Yeah.
I also firmly believe the narrative of Bobby Petrino is getting a second chance in this business when you do what he did his first time in Fayetteville. Second chances are hard to come by. I have to believe that dude has been in the lab for the last 2 weeks, even over Arkansas's open date, and they are going to come out. They may run the annexation of Puerto Rico from Little Giants, by God, and this is going to be it is going to be a fireworks-filled first half. And one side's got Taylor Green, and the other side's got Josh Heupel, and they both have an opportunity. It wouldn't shock me if Tennessee's playing in the 50s and Arkansas is playing in the upper 30s. I mean, they couldn't make a total high enough that's going to scare me away.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I'm curious to see if this is one of your plays of the week here, Jay. You've been handing out winners. But yes, like you look at some of those numbers over at FanDuel, first half total is 34.5. There, let's see if you got like you said, Tennessee team total is 41.5. Arkansas is at 27.5. And then again, you got the first half numbers if you want on Tennessee, 21.5, and 13.5 at Arkansas for Arkansas. So yeah, I mean, you got two guys that specialize in offense. You've given Bobby Petrino a little extra time to focus in on that, and I just think it, again, to me, goes back, especially in a matchup like this. It's just, I think you see what Tennessee, just how they run their stuff. We always say it. It's why I think Josh Heupel is one of the best out there. It's just the tempo, the pace, and, it puts so much pressure on you offensively. If you just make one little mistake, all of a sudden Tennessee gets the ball back. They need about 14 seconds, 2 plays, and they score again, and it's just like the pressure they put on you. So Sam's got Tennessee minus 4.5 the first quarter. So yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of offensive bets in this game. So,
and
what else?
I think with a loss already on the resume, Heupel understands this, man. He's good at this. And my affinity for Josh Heupel as a college football head coach is consistent and unwavering. But these are games that if you get an opportunity to be the smoke show in the bikini competition of the beauty pageant, you dang well take advantage of it. And to go back to the narrative of the divide in this league, do you know this is the only game this week, SEC on SEC, that has a double-digit spread?
I know. Like, I realized that once you saw, what is it, LSU, South Carolina's 9.5 now, I believe. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's down a little further. Let me check that one out real quick.
It's somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, I looked at it earlier. I think that's where it was at. Yeah, it's 8.5 now. So, yeah, that one's down to 8.5. So, yeah. So that kind of shows you. Like I said, I think this is going to be one of the best weeks of the season because all these spreads are pretty close together. And yeah, you mentioned Tennessee. They have the one loss with Georgia. We know what comes up after this week. They go to Alabama, then they go to Kentucky, and then you've still got games home against Oklahoma, home against Vanderbilt, and then, even, I'll tell you, like that one that I know for Tennessee fans right now feels a little bit scary, is that one maybe second to last of the season going to Florida, based on maybe what the Gators look like. So, big baller Brett talking about he doesn't want to see Josh Heupel in the beauty pageant. All right. What else we want to get to? I know we want to get to Georgia and Auburn. But again, we talk about the spreads, okay? So let's look at this here. All right, so as we said, Texas 1.5 point favorite against Oklahoma. Georgia and Auburn is now 3.5. I said LSU, South Carolina is 8.5. We've already mentioned the other games, minus Ole Miss, who's a 30-plus point favorite against Washington State. But I feel like it's with Auburn. Where are you at? It's Thursday, Jay. Playing this Georgia team, 3.5, very short spread here. Where are you at on the Tigers?
I'm planning on readjusting my Sunday travels because we got fall break in here in Chattanooga next week to pull off to the side of the road to sit with you and whoever else we've got to do a live show because I think Georgia's going to stomp Auburn, and I think there's a real chance that Sunday, we're talking about a coaching change.
Well, Kenneth, if you're right here.
Any Auburn fan hang their hat on offensively right now.
No. Yeah. I think that could be the case. So, And that's like, it's the number that, of course, it's glaring. It's right. It's like, all right, it's 3.5. Um, but I mean, does that tell you something about maybe just Georgia in this spot? I mean, it's Georgia Auburn. We know we've seen some close games between these two, especially kind of in this setting. Um, but I mean, Georgia bounced back with a pretty much, I guess you could call it, kind of methodical win against Kentucky, and now have to hit the road to play. I'm curious, and I'm sure someone has the stat out there. What Auburn so far, like what does that, I guess, week off mean under Hugh Freeze, right? And I just can't remember it in my head, like what their results have been after the bye week in the Hugh Freeze era. But I'm just curious again, what can they scheme up here to feel like it gives them a great shot to attack any potential weaknesses they see in this Georgia team? So,
well, unless they've gotten in the portal in the last 96 hours and schemed up some new offensive linemen, I don't even know if it matters. And this is not the last 5 Georgia teams. They're outside the top 100 in pressure rate. They're outside the top 100 in sacks. I mean, this is not the same Georgia front seven defensively. But look, man, as an alum, and I know I do this for a living, and I understand the importance of all these things, especially not only as a podcaster, sports writer, and sports bettor. If your 2 biggest check marks on why you think Auburn's going to win this football game is because crazy things happen at night in Jordan-Hare and the line's only 3.5, then damn it, man, we haven't mentioned a single dude who's going to put a helmet on and make a meaningful play.
No. Yeah. I mean, you're right again. And I think there is a strong argument like behind that. It's that, hey, it's the atmosphere, it's the setup, like that's it. And like you mentioned, is it offensive line, play calling? I think that leaves a bit to be desired. Is it just, I know Kenneth brings up, everyone kind of keeps talking about, Jackson Arnold and the combination of whether holding the ball too long, of course, again, the offensive line play, like it's just, you're playing a team like this, man.
I don't know if Kenneth was here. And I think I shared this with you. It may have been this time last week. I think the turnover issues with Peyton Thorne a year ago that cost Auburn a couple of big football games has redirected the coaching tendencies that Jackson Arnold is too tentative to a point that he's taking sacks rather than throwing contested footballs. And at some point, against good competition, you're never going to be able to just throw to open wide receivers. It's one of the reasons why Auburn's next to last in the league in average yards per completion. You know why? Because everything's from here to the back glass behind me. And those are the ones that are wide open because everybody comes up and makes tackles. So I don't know, man. I just don't see a path. The defense better score twice.
Yeah, we'll see. So, all right, you guys weigh in. Give us your score predictions. Sam's going to probably pick 1 point for one of the teams in Georgia Auburn. But
great call, David. Keldrick Falk will be a top 10 pick, and he's told, hey, this is a top 15 defense for really just about the second year in a row. And it is completely being wasted in all of a whole lot of the numbers that are getting posted against them are in the last quarter and a half because they're gassed.
No. All right. Hypothetical, just because Sam threw it out there. If you brought up a scenario earlier, if, let's say, Georgia steamrolls Auburn and we're talking about a coaching change on Sunday, who's the first name that's going to be all of a sudden become the top buzzworthy name at the top of the list, if that's the conversation is had?
Without question.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a conversation if Rhett Lashley will come, will he bring Malzahn as his coordinator?
Yeah. All right. That could be your setup heading into it. So seems like we had that same conversation a couple of weeks ago too, about potential candidates.
Kenny Dillingham will also get a phone call.
Yeah. Well, of course, Sam. Gruden's a given, right? Like, I mean, any football.
Was his wife a cheerleader down there, Sam? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the narrative.
Any football opening on earth, John Gruden is going to be mentioned as the top potential candidate, guaranteed. So, all right, as we said, the other kind of games here on the week that we've not talked much about, as we mentioned, LSU and South Carolina. That's one, and I think the other one, that's kind of intriguing here that I don't want to say necessarily gets lost in the shuffle because it shouldn't, but I think this team might be okay with it just based on how it's gone so far. But it's like, I mean, we're sitting here looking at a Florida team who just came off a big win against Texas, maybe a season sort of changing win for them. And now you go to A&M. A&M's a 7.5-point favorite at home. We've seen A&M play some close games. We've seen A&M also turn it up like they did against Mississippi State. Any upset potential here, you feel like, with the Gators going on the road? I feel like it's just the location makes it tough, maybe coming off of also a little bit of a hangover from the highly emotional win last week against Texas.
I think all of that is very accurate. But why I do think there's upset potential here, I think Texas A&M wins because I think that is an undervalued, an underrated home field advantage, especially at night. That place is enormous. It's energetic. It is relentless. But here's the one reason I believe Florida will be competitive in this game. We've seen two coaches firmly on a blazing hot seat already through 6 weeks in the SEC. Arkansas quit on theirs. Florida responded for maybe the fifth time in the last 18 months with an inspired effort when their coach is in battle. So, look, I know a lot of Florida fans who are ready for Billy Napier to be a really good coordinator somewhere else outside of Gainesville. But those guys in that locker room play hard for him. And that's worth something to me.
Yeah. A&M too, this stat, I think we talked about Mike Elko, and like when we talk about like best coaches in the SEC, right? I mean, it's only his second year at A&M, but look at just the way they've played in the first couple months of the season under him. Now, I know last year the finish was not great, right? But I mean, I think they're 12-1 in September and October so far under him. I mean, they're top 5 team now this year. Get a home game, 7.5-point favorite to try to go to 6-0 now. But yeah, I mean, we said it last week. Like, it seems like anytime Florida has their back against the wall, they always respond for Billy Napier, and you don't see that let up that you saw maybe that resulted in other coaches getting fired, or their teams just did not have that same kind of fire, it seemed. So I think that's kind of a fascinating one. And then there's LSU and South Carolina. I mean, that spread's down to 8.5. So it's not that far from the one at Florida at A&M. I'll ask you this. Better chance at pulling off the upset, South Carolina or Florida?
Florida. I think South Carolina is too offensively constipated, and this defense is the LSU defense. You talk about getting in the portal. Oklahoma and LSU got in the portal and rebuilt some serious issues. Oklahoma across an offensive line that got healthy and added pieces, and the LSU defense looks tremendous. I shared the stat. I don't know if it's been posted on the channel or not in our bets and ball games with Brian. South Carolina to this point has 10 offensive touchdowns and 6 non-offensive touchdowns. The regression to the mean is something that bettors have got to expect. I just don't see a path I don't see a path to LSU getting north of 20 in this game, and I think somebody's going to have to win it. So, look, I'm a little stunned that we're talking about on FanDuel. What's the over/under? 46.5.
Let's see this one. For some reason, this one is not pulling up. There it is, 44.5.
Okay, so it's dipped a little bit, and you're talking about two guys that I mean, around Labor Day, we're being kicked around as both top 10 NFL QB1 draft picks.
Yeah.
And we're expecting this game to be 24-17 one way or another. I don't know how South Carolina finds a way to points. As long as Brian Kelly's not dumb enough to kick the ball to that dude back there who's got like 17 returns for touchdowns.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I actually may agree with Sam Smith, because I think the only thing that I would say is I feel like Texas A&M's defense against Florida's inconsistent offense, and I think David said this a minute ago, I could really see them. I mean, I just think it could get ugly if that happens, because we've seen Florida in that scenario before, and I just don't trust LSU's offense enough to where I could see. But you make a great point about, like, South Carolina is probably not going to be able to do that the entire. Like, you're not going to have that same just explosive defensive touchdown. Like, you're not going to always make those plays. It's going to come back to the middle at some point. But I'm like, man, LSU's offense has just been so lackluster that one play defensively from South Carolina could just be the difference. But it's also a night game at Baton Rouge, and it's tough. So I don't like either chances necessarily, but I may lean a little more South Carolina than Florida, but we'll see.
And yes, Kenneth, Brian Kelly is dumb enough, and you could have hit ... and oh man, that's a great post from Tay. And I got into this conversation late in the preseason. Mike Shula, dude, I guess South Carolina make Mike Bobo feel good about himself in Athens. I mean, dang.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to see. Again, we're going to. So Jay and I have talked, and we've teased this before, but we are going to go back and maybe even, like, we're going to maybe plan to do it next week. Well, I think Jay's on spring. Well, we may do it the following week. Not spring break, fall break. We're going to go back through this Any Given Saturday thing. And I know it's like a little bit older now, but like I think the Beamer stuff for me is one of the more fascinating parts of that whole entire thing. And so I think that may tie into some of this discussion about coaching loyalty and things like that potentially. So.
And not to tip our cards, because I'm looking forward to breaking that down with you. After watching that, I thought South Carolina had a real chance to be a playoff team because of the energy and the enthusiasm that Beamer brought. And I'm thinking, get on the train now. Mike Shula may be, I mean, he's like that Debbie Downer lady on the old SNL Saturday night. Well, hope you had a good lunch. I threw up twice. I mean, I don't even know. The mood is drastically changed from an offense that I thought was going to be spectacular, because Lenore Sellers is going to be a first rounder, and so is Nick Harbor. I mean, the athleticism of both those dudes is off the charts.
Yeah. Anything you want to note in Ole Miss, Washington State? I mean, Ole Miss 32.5 point favorite. Over under 58.5. Chris and I did the preview on that this week. I was just like, Washington State. I mean, they gave up what 59 apiece to North Texas and Washington. I think it's like
yes,
yeah,
59 apiece to North Texas and Washington. I'm going to be on Ole Miss minus 19.5 in the first half. With Athens looming, this feels like it's 35-0 at half, and it may be 35-7 when the game's over.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing, especially another thing I like about endorsing Ole Miss early, this game kicks off at 9:45 body clock time for those Washington State kids. Yeah. And, I mean, Blake, I know you're a man of worldly travels, but I don't really know how easy the path from Pullman is to Starkville. It's not like you're getting on one plane and going from Seattle to Atlanta. I mean, it's buses and connecting flights, and I mean,
Oxford, yes, Sam. We know you're in Oxford. Or Starkville, either one. I mean, both
Yeah.
both apply here.
Yeah.
It's just
I may have said Starkville, but I did mean Oxford. Yes.
yeah.
Hey, look, like every other SEC town, I've been to Oxford, and like every other SEC town, I've been drunk in Oxford. So there's that.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm with you. I could see Ole Miss just completely running away with this early, and then depends on who's there, who's in, who's not. Maybe at the end, maybe the story here. But all right. Anything of note elsewhere? I know you said you wanted to spend about 4 seconds talking about Bill Belichick's tenure at North Carolina. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, there are your highlights, folks.
Yep.
That's all we got.
Hey, you know what? And man, when you're 5 games in and you're having to talk about how committed you are to the program, and your bosses are having to talk about how committed they are to you, this is a divorce as imminent as Kramer versus Kramer. I mean, it is not going to end well.
Yeah, have you read any of the books, like any of the ones that have been written, like on the Patriots? There was like it was the Dynasty, I thought was the best one. Wickersham, I think, wrote one on the Patriots, and I'm just like, you could take 2 paragraphs out of this 400 or 500 page book and immediately understand what you're getting with Bill Belichick. All you need is like 2 paragraphs anywhere in the book, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm getting into. And yet North Carolina's like, hey, we hired Mac Brown. We're going to go hire Belichick. We're just going to go grab these big names and see how it goes. And yeah. So,
it's a very Jerry Jones type of move. Yeah. You win the news cycle, but you don't win on Saturdays.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I know North Carolina came out about how being, committed to him and all the stuff. But like, if you look at the week they've had this week and everything, whether it was canceling the documentary, which again, I mean, you've got to know what you're getting into with that. And what was it? Something about the social media team couldn't push Drake May's success when they, the Patriots go and beat the Bills, and just all this nonsense. And I'm like, it's very SEC-esque, I feel like, at North Carolina. So it's a very SEC-esque storyline going on with the Tar Heels. So there you go. But there you have it, the highlights.
Hey, Carolina fans, if you found your way in here, just know basketball season's soon.
It's just around the corner. We've probably spent more time talking about North Carolina basketball and talking about non-conference basketball previews and the highlights of that than you've maybe had in football. But anyways, all right. Anything else, Jay, before we hop off here in a few minutes? We'll give you guys a couple minutes if you want to throw in some super chats, questions, comments you have heading into the weekend. And yeah, all that good stuff.
Well, I know you gotta dart out of here, and
it's fine. We got a little flexibility. So anything you want to jump into.
Well, the one thing I was going to offer was a happy birthday to Robert Wool, who turned 74 today. He was the assistant coach, and you, Larry Hawkins, should remember me because 5 years ago you were pitching for El Paso, and I was hitting cleanup for Shreveport, and you hung a curveball on an 0-2 pitch, and I tattooed it over the Michelin tire sign to beat you 4-3. That's a line from Bull Durham. Larry Hawkins on the short list of the best assistant coaches in the history of sports movies. So if you've got a super chat and you want to throw out who you think is better, I'm all ears. But you guys are great. You guys are tremendous.
I don't think he played a big role. Who was Lou Brown's assistant in Major League? Did that guy have much role? It was just like that one guy that was the pitching coach.
Pepper was the first base coach. And then amazingly enough, Steve Yeager was the guy who played the third base coach.
Okay. I was trying to remember.
Because Pepper goes, when Corbin Burnson, Roger Dorn walks up and he goes, man, I wish we had him 2 years ago. And somebody goes, we did. 4 years ago then.
I was trying to remember that. I'm like, yeah, that's a good one. So,
All right, Shooter from Hoosiers has got to be there because he ran the picket fence.
yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think. All right, I got to look this up to make sure I've got like, was there anyone in? Well, but the guy from Remember the Titans.
Yes, the guy who was supposed to be the head coach, and
yeah, that's right.
The actor's name is Will.
Hold on,
it just ran off my tongue. But
find this.
Yeah, he was
Will Patton.
Will Patton, yes.
Coach Yost. That's it.
Yes,
Coach Yost.
The attaboy, David. Way to chime in, buddy. The assistant coach in Miracle deserves some high praise right here.
Now,
and then you start looking around. Daniel Stern's character, and the movie's not good, but Rookie of the Year, Daniel Stern's character, who had the big chaw in that movie, and he can never pronounce the young kid's name, is a conversation starter. I mean, there's just so many out there.
Yeah. I know. I'm just like, this has opened up my mind. It's just like, what about Rudy? There had to be one of those assistants that was big on Rudy, right? Or one of the guys hated him.
And well, by the end, he was the guy who was chiming in on the chant, Rudy, Rudy, out of the side of his mouth. So,
I guess Bugs Bunny or Michael Jordan could qualify. They were kind of like the co-coaches on Space Jam. So
yes, that's fair, completely fair. Now, see, I think David brings up John C. Reilly in Talladega Nights. I don't know if he was more of like a Pippen to Ricky Bobby's Jordan than more of a coach. So if we ever get into that conversation, it is, and then you got to, I mean, golly, man.
There's so many. I'll let Jay drop a link to his column because I think it's a fun read. You guys check it out. Patrick asked too, by the way, we may have mentioned this earlier, but he asked what the rationale was for the Georgia-Auburn spread being so tight when it looks like a blowout.
I've got no idea. And that's the only thing that is not causing me to bet my son's first year of tuition at Auburn University on the Georgia Bulldogs. Because it's mind-blowing that this line feels like it should be 13 and not 3.
Yeah, there's got to be a trend somewhere, I think, Patrick. Like there has to be some statistical trend that tells them that this is just how it's going to go. Or they could just be simply baiting people in. And we know how this goes. So there you go. All right. We're out of here. Jay, anything else on the way out?
Nothing, my man. Just enjoy the weekend and look forward to seeing you guys live on Saturday. We don't have Wally and Necessary Roughness is a good call, Alex. We don't have softball this weekend, so I'm planning on we're going to pull up a chair and kick around. That Alabama-Missouri game is fascinating to me.
Yep. Yeah, so we will, guys, be going live 3 times on Saturday. After the first round of games, which will include Alabama and Missouri, the second round, which will include Texas and Oklahoma, and, of course, the late-night games with our primetime show there as well. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, but most importantly, turn on your notifications so you know that when we do go live after these games. Remember, support all of our fine sponsors here at the channel. Check out our membership tier. A lot more fun stuff coming there. As we mentioned, Jay and I are going to jump into the Any Given Saturday documentary. And, yeah, we got a lot of bonus stuff coming your way, including maybe some daily stuff here pretty soon with some ideas we have. So check out the membership. A lot of you guys already in there, but we appreciate you as always. And, again, we appreciate our friends over at FanDuel. We'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.